What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Trey Brooks, and today I got my very first special guest. His name is Andrew Miller. He is a 25-year-old head of underwriting for the biggest purchaser of single-family residences in the state of Georgia. Miller, how you doing, man?
Shit, doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you for using your time. I know you're a busy man, and doing this podcast with me, man. So, basically, I just want to go over, how'd you get started in real estate? How'd you get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, so, I guess I'll just take it back from the jump. I didn't graduate high school on time. Basically, I was a fuck up. I bounced around. I was in military school. I was in boarding school. Got kicked out of boarding school. Didn't graduate on time. I went to public school for the last, I think, half of my junior year. And my senior year, didn't graduate on time. I didn't go to college. I was working pizza jobs. This is 18, 19, 20, 21. Kind of just bumbling along. And, it was like, I was like 22, 23. And I had a friend that worked here, actually, at Jar House. And I got to the point where it was like, I need to do something. Like, I really need to do something. And I had a friend that worked here. I knew about the company. And I was like, just get me in the door. That was basically what it was. It was like, just give me an opportunity. And he did that. I came here. Zari really liked me. Zari's the owner of the company, Zari Nigerian. And I worked for free for like 4 or 5 months. Didn't have any income coming in. My parents were done with me. So there was like no support. I had no power. The fridge was disgusting. Because no power, the milk is also. But man, I really went through it. I put in the work on the front end. I worked without pay. I basically interned for about 5 months, and then I got my first deal, and from there I kind of rolled it up. This is late 2017, going into 2018, and I started doing deals. And as it turned out, I was really good at underwriting. So up to this point, like midway through 2018, Zari had been doing the numbers for all purchases that the company made. And obviously, as a CEO looking to expand, we're looking to go state to state. We're just in Georgia right now. You need to free up that time. It probably took up about 40% of his time. So he was looking to have somebody start doing that he could trust. And I showed that. I showed that I was pretty good at underwriting, and I could handle my own in there. So I transitioned into that, and I became the head of underwriting late 2018. And as we're recording this, it's like September 2019. So I've been in this position for about 9 months, going great. But kind of my story is like, man, I was a fuck up, and I decided to make a change, and I knew it was a great opportunity, and I just dove in head first. And I think that goes like across the board, just real estate. Like, there's so much fucking opportunity. Like, I can't stress that enough. I can't stress it enough.
So just to backtrack a little bit, for those of you guys that don't know, Miller, can you explain what underwriting is?
Right. So on any kind of real estate purchase, you have to make sure your numbers are right. Otherwise, you're going to make a dumb purchase.
When you say numbers, what do you mean?
Like, you whatever you're doing, there's obviously a plethora of different strategies when it comes to real estate. Whether you're looking to buy and hold, flip something, so on and so forth. What we do at Jar House is we only do fix and flips. So what underwriting is in our sense is, first you want to establish the ARV, which is the after repair value, what you can sell the property for. Then how much in rehab or repair is it going to take to get to that? And then you subtract out your profit margin, your holding costs, and that gets you to your max bid number, or your purchase number that you can purchase the property at. But so underwriting as a whole is evaluating a property for purchase by whatever strategy you choose in real estate, whether it's buy and hold,
right? Exactly.
Fix and flip, so on and so forth.
Exactly. So it's just basically the process in which we get our purchase price for the property. And so, can you imagine being 25, making the decision to, like, this is the number that we're going to purchase the property for? That's what he does all day. And then not only that, he also, whenever we do purchase property, he decides what we do with it. So he decides what our list price is going to be, what we sell it for, if we're going to sell it as is, if we're going to do a full rehab flip to it, etc. So, I know you said, man, you were a fuck up. And so, like, what made you make the decision that, like, look, like, I need to stop being a fuck up. Like, I need to move my life in a different trajectory, and I'm just going to work for this company for free?
Yeah, like I said, my whole life, and I really had no motivation. Like, the reason I didn't graduate on time, the reason I didn't go to college, the reason, I didn't move my life in a positive direction before that was because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It just got to a point where it was like, I was 22, 23. I think I was 23 when I came here, and it was like, fuck. Like, I'm doing this delivery job, like, this isn't a career. Like I need to get my shit figured out ASAP. Like whatever it is, I need to get something figured out. Like I need to start building for my future. And like I said, I had a friend that worked here. I knew the company. I was like, yo, like just get me in the door. And I just knew there was just a wealth of opportunity here. So it was like, yo, just get me in the door, and I'll just do whatever it takes to like learn and you know be great. But yeah, why I worked for free and all that, it was because I knew of the great opportunity that was here. In that regard, it was just like shit. Like this is what I want to do. This is like I have this huge opportunity in front of me. Like I want to learn, and I want to get some skills. I want to do something great. Yeah, and that was really it. And it was like it was time to make a change in my life.
So, explain the process of your first deal. How did that go about?
Right. So my first deal, I started at the beginning of November 2017, and like I said, I started doing acquisitions when I came.
What's acquisitions?
The acquiring of properties. So I was looking for properties to acquire for the company. When I say I worked for free, I was an independent contractor. So if I was doing deals early, then I would have been getting paid. But, like I was coming in totally green. Like I didn't know anything. So, it took me a while to do my first deal. So, I think about 4 months in, I still remember it. And this is something you'll hear a lot. Like you never forget your first deal. But it was 8 Valencia in Noonan. And the guy's name, the seller's name was Rashawn. And I think we had actually been like kind of dabbling in AdWords. And man, he reached out on that. And this was a pretty clean cut house. It was like built in 2010, 2012 maybe. So, houses like that, you don't need to do much to them. Like it's just cosmetic, carpet and paint. You throw it back on the market and you get market value. So yeah, I think he actually reached out to us. We kind of went back and forth, and this shit is scary. Like, never done this before. It's fucking scary. You don't know what you're doing. You're scared you're gonna get caught off guard with a question or something like that. You're just gonna like be stammering and not have the answer. But no, it went well. He was a cool dude. That my first deal, it came from AdWords, which ended up being extremely expensive. So it wasn't an avenue that we pursued long term. But it came from that. It was a guy named Rashawn, and that was my first deal.
And if you had to count, how many deals do you think you've done since you started? Since your first one?
To date, actually kind of recently, because I still do deals on the side. Like $112, about 112 deals.
That's insane, y'all. 112 deals in 2 years.
And let me tell anyone that's out there like looking for a way to get in. And I know our situation is very unique because we're like our company, we're cash buyers. So wholesaling is like a whole nother thing because you're dealing with the seller directly. And I know I just explained like my first deal was a direct to seller deal. I would say only about 10% of my deals in total were direct to seller. But wholesaling I would say is a little more difficult. So when you're wholesaling, it is a little bit more difficult because you have to work both ends. You have to work with the seller and you have to find a cash buyer. But I think a great tool, and really what I grew my success with this company on when it comes to acquisitions was Craigslist. Like no one at this company had been on Craigslist before. And really I dove into Craigslist head first. I had always been a Craigslist person. Like any old stuff that I had, sold it on Craigslist. Anything I was looking to buy, I'd check it out on Craigslist first. You find some great deals on Craigslist. Just so happens that you have all kinds of sellers, all kinds of wholesalers, all kinds of people posting stuff on Craigslist. So Craigslist was a huge tool for me. And I think like I would say 75% of the deals I did, whether they were direct to seller or wholesale connections that I met and then we did repetitive deals, were from Craigslist. So that was my big gold mine, was Craigslist. So like I said, I've done 112 deals to date, and the kind of tidbit I want to get out is Craigslist is a fantastic tool. Fantastic tool. Whether you're trying to find cash buyers, whether you want to market to cash buyers, you're a wholesaler and you're looking to find a buyer, you're looking for sellers. A lot of people, for whatever reason, they don't go to Zillow for sale by owner or anything. They just post it on Craigslist, and you can find some gems on Craigslist.
That's actually a very valuable piece of advice because in my what I don't think Craigslist is still a viable thing, but he's telling you that he's done 112 deals, just mainly 75% off of Craigslist. So that's fucking amazing, man. I'm proud of you. Like I said, like you inspired me to do some big things, and maybe I need to get back on Craigslist, man. I thought it'd be like something that would be like, you know, way the fuck like in the prehistoric ages. Like no one really talks about Craigslist anymore to find deals, but you know he's doing deals just based off of Craigslist. So man, that's awesome. So when you're on Craigslist, what do you look for? You just look for I mean, yeah. What do you look for on Craigslist?
So this is the thing with Craigslist as well. There's a ton of shit, just garbage on Craigslist. Craigslist can be a total cesspool, and it is a total cesspool. So you know, I've really become like Craigslist, like fucking samurai. So what I do, and I'll give you all a little nugget here. Like my Craigslist strategy is, and I guess this is only relevant to you know what we're trying to do. We're trying to buy properties. So I'm trying to look at all the possible deals I can, just scan them quickly, just go through all of Craigslist for the day. But what I do is I just open tabs. I'll go through Craigslist for the whole day, and I'll open tabs on titles that seem worth looking into. So I'll go through, it takes me about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll open all these tabs, and I'll have like 40 tabs open, and I'll just go through every single one. And I know the Atlanta market like the back of my hand, the metro Atlanta market, so I can tell very quickly if something is a viable deal or not. So once I have all those tabs open, then I chop through them, and if it looks worth pursuing further, I'll reach out to the person. I'll shoot them a little message. If not, I'll just move on to the next one. It takes me about 10 seconds per listing. So that's how I handle Craigslist. But there is a lot of shit on Craigslist. There's a lot of spamming and just garbage on Craigslist. So if you're going to go into Craigslist, go in there knowing that you're going to run into a lot of shit. But it's kind of just like, what do you call it when you like filter out the stuff and like for it? But sift. You want to sift through all the shit, and then you find that one. You find the guy who's like 65 years old. He just posted it on Craigslist, and he needs to sell. And he just put it on Craigslist. So yeah, you sift through all the garbage, and there's one of those. You'll find a good 3 of those a week.
So if you had to give someone advice, let's just say like I'm brand new in real estate. I'm a first time fix and flipper. I'm looking for a good deal to buy. What's like the best house that you think someone should go after?
All right, so this is a really good question. Avoid, if this is your first time and you're looking for your first flip, avoid at all costs the old shit. Do not fuck with any of this old shit. Like for Atlanta specifically, the stuff you see just in hordes is this super fucking old property. It's horrific inside. It's horrific. They're offering it for like 100, and it's like ARV 300. These are nightmares, especially for if you're a first time fixer flipper.
Wait, define old.
Like the 60s, even 70s. These are properties that are best left for the people who have been doing this for a long time. Because these properties take all kinds of, you have to have a designer on them. You have to, they are extremely intricate, and so much can go wrong on an old property like that when you're trying to, you know, make it this like perfect property that's going to hit that high market value. What we do, like our real bread and butter is stuff in the 90s, 2000s that are in neighborhoods that are easy fix and flips. They're going to be cosmetic. So you get something that's in the 90s and 2000s, especially the 2000s, you're not going to have any major issues. You're not going to have any major electrical issues. You're not going to have any major plumbing issues. You're not going to have any major issues. You can go in, replace the carpet, paint it, put some granite in the kitchen, and a lot of times you can get up to, you know, the top market value. You can set the market in a lot of cases in like the 150 grand price range. You know, you just do that to a house built in the 90s or 2000s, and it's a very straightforward process. So yeah, if it's your first time flipping, do not take on an extremely complex project. And something I do as well is we bid on all the foreclosures in Georgia every month. And this is like, so I'm underwriting like 600, 700, 800 properties a month, all within like a week and a half window. And so much what I see is half done renos in the city that are like old renos where it's like, okay, I could see what they were trying to do here. They were trying to hit the top of the market in these like little, you know, hipster type neighborhoods but you just run out of money. You don't do the budget right. All kinds of stuff comes up that you weren't expecting, and it can just turn into a nightmare fast. And then that'll shake your whole enthusiasm for the entire game. So yeah, your first one, start with an easy one. 90s, 2000s.
And what do you think? Like, whenever you're underwriting the properties, what do you think? Like, what do you look for first? Like, you're like, okay, this is good or this is bad. Like, if something, or let me ask you, what's a deal breaker? Like, if you're underwriting something, you see, okay, like we're like, okay, we're not gonna fuck with this house.
Foundations are scary as fuck. Yeah, foundations are really scary. If you have somebody who knows their way around construction and can accurately go out and assess a foundation, that's great. You want to make sure you trust that person. And then in a lot of cases, you might end up getting a good deal where a lot of people are scared off by the foundation. You have your boy go out, look at it. He's like, oh, this is like a 2-3 grand fix. You could end up getting a good deal. But they can be extremely bad as well. Like it can be extremely bad. And what you really want to look for in like something you really don't want to mess with, unless again you know exactly what you're doing, is when you see like step cracks, whether it's in brick or a cinder block, when it becomes like 3-dimensional. When you see like an actual gap in the bricks, or if there's actual like shifting, like when the like one part of the house is coming out a little bit and then the other house is back there. It's just bad. It's just bad news. And those can be 10-20 grand to take care of. So yeah, the one scary thing would be foundation.
What's the next scary thing?
Water damage. I would probably say just like severe water damage, severe mold. You got mold. Depends how bad it is. Like if you got a house infested with mold, that's bad news, because you're getting into the air ducts, you're getting into every single part of this house, like down to the studs. A lot of times you got mold on it. So a lot of times you got a really bad mold situation. It's bad news. You got to take it down to the studs, and sometimes the studs are compromised.
All right. And in your experience, what do you think? Why do you think properties sit on the market for a long period of time?
Renovated properties?
Yeah.
There's something about them that isn't attracting people. Well, of course, the most obvious thing is it's overpriced. But if it seems to be priced right, what is it about this property that people don't like? And this would be a good example of, you take an older property. You got a lot of these areas in Atlanta that the rehabs are being done so perfectly, and these houses have so much character that are selling for like 300, 400, 500,000. They're just beautifully done renovations. And if you kind of just go in and it's like, okay, we're gonna put some basic granite in here, and kind of just not give it that love, not give it that character. Like a designer didn't work on this. Mm-hmm. The landscaping is not right. This, that. Those things will sit. So if something's sitting on the market, obviously something is wrong. And it varies case by case. It might be overpriced, but if it seems like the price is right, there's something about the rehab or the layout. Layout is extremely important. A lot of people kind of overlook it. They just look at square feet. When layout is just as important. Like you don't want a kitchen that's like a little alleyway or like a little kind of cubicle. The kitchen is extremely important. Open floor plans are obviously, all the rage in 2019, and they have been for several years. But layout is extremely important. The quality of the finish and the price.
All right, awesome. So, all right, let's just say, for example, so whenever I find deals, I analyze them, I negotiate them, get them under contract, or before I get them under contract, I go to Miller and say, hey, man, what do you think that what is our max offer for this property? So what I want to ask you is, let's just say, for example, a property has an ARV of 150. What do you think for any investor, not just for a company, but any investor, what do you think that they would need to buy it for if it has an ARV of 130 and needs about $30,000 in repairs?
Right. So
ARV of 150 and needs about $30,000 in repairs.
This is what's the 65% they call it? Like LTV here?
No, it's fuck.
There's that 65% number that like you'll hear it in the industry a lot. That really depends. Like if we hit something on our bread and butter, if the ARV is 150,000 and this house was built in the 2000s, The ARV is extremely solid. Like it's a subdivision where you got 5 comps at 150, and it's just really clear cut. We get up to like 85%, so we'll go like 85% minus repairs. But then if it's an older property, I would say you want to be a little bit more cautious. So we look for at least, if we're doing a rehab like that, we look for at least 15,000 profit margin. And then I would say on a property like that, we probably have about 12,000 holding costs. So I don't know, what does that amount to? If you got to put 30 into it, 15 to it, it would put us around 90. We would buy that at around probably 80, 85,000. If I'm doing my numbers right in my head. But,
right.
Yeah, it just depends on the property. So, if you got an extremely clear-cut one, there's not a lot of risk. And 30 grand is a decent amount to put into a property. So, if you got to put 30 grand in, there might be, a little something going on with it. But there's a lot of them that are like little 15, 20 grand ones, strictly cosmetic. We're hyper aggressive on those because it's very low risk. There's not much that can go wrong. We get in, we get out.
Right. So what do you see yourself going in the future? Like, I know that you're off to a great start, man. 25 being like in the head of underwriting, which is basically like one step under what the CEO does. So you're in a great position to grow and expand. What do you have for the future?
Well, honestly, my heart is in acquisitions. So something I've been kind of talking to Zari about recently is leaning a little bit more into acquisitions. I've been doing strictly underwriting. Which, for me, I like to hunt and kill. Like I like to hunt shit. So I like to find deals and I like to do deals. The underwriting is more of a desk job. It is entertaining. Like I don't mind it. Like I'll end up for Super Tuesday, which is the foreclosure auctions. I'll be sitting at a desk for 40 hours in a row, and it's fun because I'm in there with a couple other guys. We're all running numbers at the same time, and we like what we do. So. But I also love, doing acquisitions. So, going forward, I want to transition a little bit back into acquisitions, and I'm still going to be doing some underwriting, but I think I'm going to get a little bit more back into acquisitions. But really, like, as far as the future, I'm not a person that really projects things out or like thinks about the future in a great amount of detail, which, maybe, a con of, my way of thinking. But that's just kind of the person I am. I kind of take it day by day. So, as far as what the future holds, I just want to do my job day to day, just do what I know needs to be done. And I have great confidence that, the rest will take care of itself. And, something actually with the company is we're trying to go state to state. So, we're kind of flirting with that. As of late, kind of looking at properties in other markets, it would naturally be somewhere in the Southeast. But as far as maybe the next year or two is establish grounds in another market and start pumping some weight there.
Cut that. All right, so let's just say, for example, I'm a brand new person, don't know shit about real estate, but I just have the ambition to get started. What kind of advice would you give me?
Right. So, and this is another thing. Like right now, I kind of want to get more into. I know Trey's got like his podcast and whatnot. So, I would definitely like to help as many people as I can. So if y'all have like any kind of questions, like we're kind of just going off the rip here. So like we're not like we're not trying to hit any specific thing other than kind of like give our background. But I'm sure y'all have all kinds of questions. So feel free to ask in the comments. You can put this on YouTube. Yeah. So like feel free to ask in the comments and stuff like that, and we'll do several other videos and we'll try to hit like every single question. But for people getting started, it's scary. First of all, it's scary shit. Second of all, like the most important thing is you have to keep at it. Like you're gonna get beat over the head. Like you're gonna beat over the head every day. Sellers are gonna beat you over the head, like telling you to F off, like all this stuff. Like you're just gonna get beat over the head. You have to have resilience. And you have to have confidence and resolve in your end goal, which is to be great and do great things in real estate, because there really is so much opportunity. But you will get beat over the head. But that's all right. You just got to take the licks and really just learn and learn as much as you can. And this is another thing. And I'm sure this has been said by other guys, but you have to take action. Like don't just watch a bunch of videos, don't just read a bunch of stuff and never take action. Like it's so much better just to like jump in head first and just expose yourself to the unknown. You really have to expose yourself to the unknown. And that's how you learn. So yeah, don't be afraid to take action. Take as much action as you can and really just throw yourself in head first and be resilient. And if you do those things, then you're going to have success. If you continually do those things, you're going to get traction and you'll start being productive. You'll start learning more. You'll get a better grip and you'll start getting traction.
And what was the hardest thing that you had to learn and when you first started? Well, give us two aspects. The hardest thing you had to learn when evaluating a property and the hardest thing you had to learn when doing a deal.
So like evaluating a property, I would just say the complexities of every single property. Like real estate is so unique. Every single property is different. So there's all kinds of things that you have to look out for in any given property. Like there could be a retaining wall that's like a major issue. Is the property way up on a hill? The driveway is a not external obsolescence, but like some kind of obsolescence. Like people don't want this super steep driveway. Just with underwriting, my biggest roadblock was the uniqueness of every single property and being aware of all the possible things that could go wrong with any given property. So that really took me a while to pick up. As far as doing a deal, it was really just being comfortable talking to the sellers and hammering them down. Like obviously, if you're going to do deals, if you're going to be a wholesaler, if you're going to, negotiate directly with sellers, you're going to get a good deal. And this person's in some kind of predicament where they are willing to sell their property for a really good number, good for us. So that was my biggest thing with doing deals, was being comfortable talking to the sellers, because it can be uncomfortable in a lot of cases. These people they're going through stuff, especially when you have to hammer them down too. So that was my biggest thing in that regard, was getting comfortable talking to people, just explaining to them why we had to, be lower, why we had to be at the price we're at. And really something that's extremely valuable in that regard is just use the information you have. Like what is your real reasoning that you have to go lower or you have to be at your number? It's a business. These things are going on with the property. For us to, buy this property with cash, this is where we'd have to be at for it to make sense for us. And, in their situation, it makes sense for them because they have to get rid of the property for some reason. We have the cash. They need to get rid of the property. It works out on both sides. So it's really just being honest with people and giving them what they want, which is a fast cash offer.
Right. And so Miller, he spends the most time with our CEO and our And our CEO is an extremely insightful person. So what do you think has been the biggest lesson or the best lesson that you learned from Zari?
So Zari's a very unique person. I've learned just like an incredible amount of information from Zari. I would say his belief in what he believes in is the strongest I've ever seen out of anyone I've ever met or talked to in my entire life. His big thing is centering yourself around the truth. And his truth is he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's been in all 50 states running operations like we are right now in Georgia. And his willpower and his determination is like a fucking steel cable that like holds up like fucking big suspension bridges. So that's like what I really admire about Zari, is his determination and his day-to-day willpower and the force he puts behind doing what he has to do and going where he wants to go. That's what I really admire. So what I've taken from him is really, well, a lot of things, like too much to say just in a matter of sentences, but he kind of had a similar story as well. Like I think he was trying to do stocks, like I think like 27, 28, and something he said at like a company meeting, and this was like April 2018. He was trying to day trade. I believe, and he blew like $100,000 of his parents' money. And he said he was just like crying on his bed, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to get this money back to my parents? And like, keep in mind, he's like 27, 28. So now I think he just turned 36. So he's only been in the game like 8 years. And you know, he made it happen. So like, he had a come up story too. Not to mention, like, he's a refugee from Armenia. He came over here when he was like 5 years old, broke his shit. His whole family was broke, and you know, he made it happen. So he's gone through a lot of hardships in his life. So yeah, I really admire, you know, his willpower and his the, you know, just strength that how strictly he follows what he believes in, and that's, you know, gotten him to the point where he's at today.
So you're saying that you think that it mainly comes from his belief system and believing that everything revolves around the truth, but like, how does that help him push to actually, you know, get to?
So like like you said, he's very big on the truth. His truth is that if he does what he knows needs to be done, which is, you know, how we're operating right now, we can expand this into other states. And if he and we put in the work, then it will happen. It will materialize. And, you know, living by the truth is also not lying to yourself, not making bullshit excuses, not, you know, taking the easy route, not like, you know, it's really just not lying to yourself. It's living in the truth at every given moment. So he takes that, and it's so strong. He believes in what he believes in so strongly that it just keeps him going, like around the clock. Because if he does what he knows needs to be done, the result is a foregone conclusion. So yeah, that's how I would say how he uses the truth. And shit, you should have him on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna try one day. One day, you know, he's a busy man.
He would come on and shit like in 2 seconds.
I hope so. Shit, I'll ask him. Yeah, I haven't even asked him yet.
So he would be able to give you a much better breakdown, and it would be a lot more insightful.
Right. Yeah, man, he's an awesome guy. I get a lot of inspiration from him. But like I said, Miller spends the most time with him out of anyone in our company. So it's always cool to see, like, you know, what kind of nuggets drop down on him, or what perception he gets from, you know, being around that influence all the time. And so I guess let me ask you this: like, what do you think is like the funnest part of your job, or like your role, and does it fulfill you in any kind of way?
Yeah, so winning. I love winning. And so Super Tuesday, to kind of break down Super Tuesday for y'all, we have the first Tuesday of every month, Georgia statewide auctions off properties going into foreclosure on the county steps in every county in Georgia. So we're in
71.
71 now. We're in 71 counties. Super Tuesday, we probably bid in around 40, 50. So we have representatives in all these counties. We're bidding on them. So leading up to Super Tuesday, it's like a 100-hour week for me and the other underwriters. So I'm working with those guys, and like I'm kind of doing the final numbers, and it's just a massive amount of work. So it's really like Christmas morning, like when you were a kid, and it's like you come downstairs, and it's like finally you're allowed to come downstairs,
right.
And it's like you open the presents. That's what it is like on Tuesday morning, because we're working like a full week and a half before that, just like working our asses off, like 100-hour weeks, and then it's like Tuesday, 10 a.m. the auctions start, and then properties just start rolling in. We pick up about 40, 50, 60 properties in a day on Super Tuesday. So that is the most rewarding part, is winning. I love to win. So seeing those come in, it's like all your hard work pays off, and you see them rolling in, and it's like, oh, I remember this property. Oh, we got this one. Look how far we got it under the max bid. So that's the most rewarding part by far, is the winning and making money. Like when we see something sell for what we thought it was, or even more, it's like, okay, because I'll set the list prices as well. So if I think like there's a little something about this property that might make someone want it a little bit more, and we go for that ambitious list price, and then somebody goes for it, it's like, oh, hell yeah. Like, right. Like we got that shit.
Right.
I like making money for myself, for the company, and I just like winning. So that's the most rewarding part for sure.
Nice, man. Shit, man. So I guess like we're gonna start to wrap this thing up. Miller, if you had one thing that you have to do for the rest of your life, what do you think it would be?
At this point, something in real estate. The amount of information that I've learned over the last 2 years, like it's really incredible. Like to think where I was 2 years ago, and where I am now, and just the wealth of information I have. Like, it's going to be something in real estate. So, and I think I'm going to be with this company for a while. So yeah, I think I'm going to be in real estate for a minute. I love it, and apparently I'm good at it. So.
Yeah, shit, man, you do seem pretty good. Well, like I said, man, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. I'm extremely proud of you. You inspire me every day. It's great to see like kind of where you started. Well, when I started here, I started about a year ago, and just to see kind of like your progression through that has been an amazing thing to witness. And I'm excited to see like how far you take this ride. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, for sure.
like I said, he's someone that's been like a great friend to me. He, as soon as I came in, he always like didn't hesitate to answer any of my questions, show me the ropes on some shit. So and I've learned a lot from him. Just even in my personal life, just like listening to him, the conversations we have are pretty like intuitive. And so yeah, man, like I said, I'm honored that you were my first guest and that we were able to bang this thing out, man. And hopefully I get to have you on here again. And yeah, I mean, thanks, man.
All right, for sure. Bro.
All right, bro.
And like I said earlier in the podcast, or interview, yeah, if y'all have any questions, like I really want to help people. So any questions y'all have, leave them in the comments, and we could probably do a follow-up video and answer every single question.
Yeah, because I do think that like Miller, he did talk in terms like underwriting, acquisitions, and we didn't really like dumb that down. I know there's going to be a lot of first-time listeners or people that don't really understand all the aspects of real estate. So definitely, like, you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Be sure to get back to you. Might make a follow-up video. Like I said, we work together like every day, so we're always around each other. So we can definitely bang out another podcast. So
yeah, and a lot of stuff like I just talked about underwriting, but I know a lot about the industry too. So like any wholesaling questions or cash buyer questions or stuff like that. Like I have a very good perspective on what a cash buyer looks for and things like that. So fire away, and I think this was a success.
It was, man. I appreciate it, bro. All right, see you guys.